Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron, I hope you're having a great day in Jesus. Just finished reading this book. I did a little preview of it before, and I just want to give you my thoughts going through this. It's over 400 pages long, so just kind of give you a book review kind of thing. First of all, I want to say, I think in his 2 books on Sinaiticus, and he's done videos as well on YouTube, that I say he's got a conclusive, airtight case that Codex Sinaiticus has in fact been forged. He's got dates, he went back to the rebuttals of the 1860s when they were trying to say that Constantine Simonides was lying and all of this, that he was a forger. I think that's even on his Wikipedia page. And he deconstructs the arguments against Constantine Simonides. I appreciate his facts and truth, his honesty, his objectivity, because he says, I have found at least 2 times that we can pretty much demonstrably prove that Constantine Simonides lied. But the people, especially Constantine Tischendorf coming against him, he kind of says more than that, that Tischendorf was less scrupulous than Simonides. And so who faked the world's oldest Bible? He goes a year-by-year study, everything we know, all the persons involved. He's done incredible research. He has dug up, to my knowledge, probably every book that could look at this, the names, the players, the monks, his uncle. He goes into the Masonic Lodge. He thinks the Masonic Lodge and the Illuminati even possibly played some type of role into this. I'm not sure if he uses the phrase Illuminati. He may. It's been a couple weeks, 3 weeks or so since I finished reading this book. And I'm going on to some other things. But anyhow, things like that. He goes into secret societies. And at the end, I mean, it's kind of anticlimactic because he says, well, Satan's really the one that did it to kind of muddy the waters here in the end time. But he makes an overwhelming, convincing case. Now, all that being said, I tend to agree with David W. Daniels on the issue of the Bible. He's a Bible translator. He got his master's degree in Bible translating from Fuller Theological Seminary, just what he does. He had to translate many of these manuscripts from Greek because Simonides didn't speak English, or wasn't his first language anyhow. He was his uncle was a Greek monk, Benedict, and so he had to translate from Greek several things even for this book. Over 400 pages, good bibliography, that type thing. So I tend to agree with him on the subject of the Bible. Of every book, and I'm not sure if I've read every book he's ever written. I may have. I have tried to, but I may have missed 1 or 2 somewhere along the line. But especially the last 3 books, 2 on Sinaiticus, and I forget what the one previous to that was, that the first 60, 70, 80 pages are very opaque, very tenuous. I think one of the books, maybe it was first 40-something pages. And it's almost like, does this guy even know what he's talking about? He takes a long time to get a point across. And the book previous to this about Codex Sinaiticus that he wrote, I've done a review on that as well. Then he just starts dropping what I humorously call B-52 bomb. You know, boom, 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 boom. He just starts carpet bombing and giving irrefutable proof. I mean, it can't be challenged. And there's a lot of guys, Chris Pinto, there's a lot of people that have written books and done movies on this particular subject. And I just think it's irrefutable. I think if you would take the time not to just look at the rebuttal, we tend to want to look at our Dan Wallaces and our James Whites, look at the rebuttals, but read the primary materials that they're rebutting. I've noticed that among a lot of people like hate Gail Riplinger, and I'm like, well, have you ever read a lot of Gail Riplinger? And I'm not even talking about what she did in the 80s in New Age Bible versions. I think it was in the 80s, but I'm talking about even recent stuff. And I was reading a 10-page thing she wrote in 2011, I think, for the King James Store. And I mean, just the amount of research she does. She makes mistakes, there's no doubt about that. But let's say if you have 1,000 points and 40 to 60 of them are wrong, that doesn't invalidate the other 940 correct points. So in this book, he kind of follows the same paradigm. The first several dozen pages are very hard, very difficult slog, and not a lot getting accomplished. Now, you might read it and say, this is the greatest prose ever, and it's equal to Poe and Dickens and other great writers throughout history, Chaucer and Shakespeare and on and so forth. It may be what you read. I'm just talking about, for me, my feeble brain and what I try to get out of it. So, but then he does do a very good job. To me, he doesn't drop as many B-52 carpet bombs, but he makes far enough of a case to say Simonides did forge it, and this is how Tischendorf got it out. I appreciate his total honesty when he just says, I don't know, this seems to be the only way, on and on. He makes, usually in most of his books, he'll make a couple of kind of what I call leaps of logic, saying, I'm not sure that A equals B there, But anyhow, if you're interested at all in this subject, whether you believe Sinaiticus is a 350 AD document or a forgery, this is the elephant in the room. And his previous book is, you've got to read it to know intelligently what you're talking about. And to my knowledge, nobody has come anywhere close to coming up and giving the timeline like he does, and doing the research and actually vindicating Simonides in a lot of ways. Because he said when he started, he was like, okay, Constantine Simonides was a forger and he was a liar and all this, and but I do think he did in fact write Sinaiticus, or copy out Sinaiticus. And he said once he began to compare the allegations against him with the reality on the ground, it was most of the people on the ground were doing insufficient research and even misunderstanding things that he was trying to say, and maybe even some deliberate misrepresentation. So God bless you. Thank you so much for watching. Join us every day. Hit subscribe, bell notification, share with your friends, put it on social media. We love you. God bless you. Pray for the ministry. Talk with you later.